Hi everyone, I'm arcalena, and I'll be running Afterimage any percent restricted on advanced difficulty today. And I'm joined by the lovely Trash Lapras for commentary.
Hi, I'm Trash Lapras, and I'm really excited to be able to commentate one of my favorite games of all time for my wife here.
That's me. Okay, so we're just gonna get right into it. Can we get the outfit color that won the bid war?
Yes, the last I saw, blue was on top.
Yes, we absolutely can. Yeah, it looks like it was overtaken by blue at the last minute, so blue will be the outfit color.
Let's go.
My favorite color.
Okay.
All right. And Afterimage time starts as soon as you pick your difficulty, and I'll count you down. You ready?
Yep.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, Afterimage, it is a 2D Metroidvania. Oh, and we're going to equip our blue outfit here very quickly. 2D Metroidvania, a little bit of Souls influence, but it's definitely more of an action game. We're playing this on the advanced difficulty. Fun fact, it was the only difficulty when the game launched. They actually added an easier difficulty because the game is really hard. There's definitely a lot of strong bosses with some tricky patterns to learn, and so they've added a lot of things that can make the game easier over time, including a whole entire difficulty dedicated to it. And these outfits do actually provide small benefits, but they're pretty negligible. This one, I think, just gives us regenerating mana, so it kind of doesn't actually do anything. And we're here on the first boss. This is the classic trope of you kill the boss, but actually you can't. And we're about to die and come back to life in just a second here. So there we go. Lore-wise, all souls, when they die, go into like the Sea of Souls, but for some reason we can come back out of it and we spawn at these trees because that's where the Sea of Souls goes, into trees. And that'll be like our checkpoint, bonfire stuff. We'll be picking up a few of those just for safety along the way. And coming up here, we're going to be grabbing our first chest of the run, which will give us a weapon, the wooden scythe. This game has 6 different types of weapons. There's the basic sword that we started with, there's the big sword, there's the 2 swords, and the katana sword, and then there's a scythe and a whip. And right here, what we just did was use our sword to kind of give us a hover so that we could jump over to the right and skip a boss that normally you would have to fight by going over to the left and into the burning village. But with that kind of hover tech, we're able to sequence break a little bit, but it's not... I hesitate to call it a sequence break because it's kind of intended. The game definitely tells you all about being able to hover with your weapons and using that to get to sort of unintended places that maybe aren't so unintended after all. And what we'll be doing is you see us hitting some of these blue rocks along the way. That's just for money. We'll be buying some armor later just to make the run a little comfier, and also we can use it to upgrade our weapons as well. We're going to take a quick break here to look at a birdie flying through the sky and talk about it, and then we'll keep moving on to our next part and towards the first boss.
Shout out to the art in this game, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, the art it's what got me into the game in the first place. It just looks beautiful. Everything about it is incredible. I think when this game came out like last April, I was on a bit of a Metroidvania binge, and I played like Bloodstained and Hollow Knight and like Ender Lilies, and just these kind of like darker, kind of like gothic-ish, horror-ish games. So this is like a super breath of fresh air. Just looking at this bright, vibrant world, and I don't know, it's just beautiful. Also has great music. And we'll be coming up to the first boss right now. And this is a good time to talk about like the attacking techniques that we have in this game. The game gives you like a lot of freedom when it comes to your attacking. Every weapon has its own set of attacks for ground, air, crouch, as well as a bunch of skills. And you can kind of cancel anything with either like a crouch or a jump or a dash. So a lot of what we do is cancel a standing strike into another standing strike into another standing strike, or cancel a standing strike into a crouch attack, into a jump attack, into another jump attack, into some skills and stuff like that. And you can really kind of just go hard on attacking in this game. And it's just really, really fun to do. But we're about to kill the first boss here. Question mark, question mark, question mark. That'll be revealed who she actually is towards the end of the run. Right now, she's kind of just interested in us and wants to see our potential, I think. Yeah, and now that we made it through that, we'll be heading into Resting Town, which we don't know the name of. You have to like find these echoes throughout the game in order to reveal the names of places. And we'll be picking up our first Afterimage, which Afterimages in this game they're your charm system and also your upgrade system. The one we just picked up allows us to traverse and fast travel between different trees in the game. There's others like double jump and wall climb. We actually won't be able to get any of the more like charm-like ones that give you temporary buffs, like regenerating your magic or bigger healing and stuff like that. They're just unfortunately a little out of the way for us, but we will get a couple of movement upgrades throughout the run. And this game does have a lot of these like platforming sections, but with a lot of enemies sprinkled throughout. And so you'll see some really neat movement and ways to handle that. Just kind of squeezing between an enemy here and just really precise kind of platforming to get through these. And we're about to pick up our second scythe of the run. The way weapons work in this game is there's the 6 weapons and then there's tiers for each. The lowest tier is wooden, and now we're on the bronze scythe. And fortunately, most of our stats just come straight from those weapons. You really don't get much from your levels in this game other than being able to unlock skills. So it's not really worth it too much to level up. Fortunately, you can kind of just look for a strong weapon and go grab that. You'll be doing more damage at level 5 with a good weapon than you will at level 60 with a bad weapon. But yeah, and the main weapon we'll be using is going to be that scythe. It has like a low damage number, so I think they're kind of just in very convenient places. Usually at the start of levels, you'll be able to get your next tier of scythe, as opposed to something like the dual blades, which is really strong, but they're usually pretty hidden and hard to reach. So we'll be sticking with the scythe. It has a great DPS rotation too. I think the only thing that kind of really comes close to that is the sword. And we're going to be coming up on our first movement ability here, which is going to be the slide kick. We're going to be equipping some potions just for safety and upgrading a bit of our talent tree just for a little extra damage. So there's 2 guys here. This is kind of like a gauntlet area. Not really a boss fight because they're just regular enemies, but they're over-leveled, so they're kind of like little mini bosses. But we'll just have to kill 2 of them. There's several of these throughout the world in every area, and they usually give you like an armor or something, but this is the only one that's required, and it gives you the slide, which we'll need to access our next area. And there it is. And so we'll be going back to town and kind of heading towards the next area. And fun fact about this game, it came out like in April I guess it's not a fun fact about the game. It's a fun fact about me. It came out in April, and we played it, enjoyed it, had a lot of fun. It was a great game. But we got married in June, and we just decided to take a little staycation, and we ended up just kind of routing the speedrun for this game for a week. And yeah, really fun time. Highly recommend staycation routing a speedrun with your wife. Yeah, and now we're moving on to the Field of Geo here, which is another type platforming section. You'll see a lot of spots where we're squeezing through enemies. And in just a second, there's going to be some kitties that'll show up. They have bombs, and they walk really slowly, so they can kind of impede your progress onto platforms. But if you wait for just the right moment, you can squeeze onto the platform with them and be able to kind of skip having to deal with them. So that's what we're going to see Elena doing here. And looks like it's working out. Another pause for this one, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, normal kitty stuff. Bombs getting in your way.
Yeah, we would know. We'll be doing a little bit more of that. And again, this is just like that kind of tight timing. Sometimes if you're just fast enough, you'll be able to squeeze into places where you normally wouldn't be. And that also is going to depend on your graphical settings. This game has a little bit of customizability, if you want to call it that, with, oh yeah, unfortunately traps will send you back to the beginning of a platforming section. Yeah, the game has some like customizability with regards to your graphical settings. If you're on a higher graphical setting, enemies will spawn in sooner, so they'll be doing their route and end up in different places than if they're on a low setting. And we just like looking at the beautiful game, so we play on high. And that was another one of those kind of pseudo sequence break skips where we use the hover from the sword aerial attack to get a little extra ground, and then the scythe to kind of float for just a little bit. And we're able to get the Blackwood Katana, which is kind of a whole tier above where we would normally be without it. So it's just going to be by far the best damage weapon we have access to right now. And you may see here, something I didn't mention is our main mode of traversal is going to be switching up dashes with slide dashes. Again, this game kind of just lets you cancel anything, and you can cancel the end lag of dash with a slide dash, and you can cancel the end lag of the slide dash with a regular dash. And so you kind of just chain those back and forth to really move as quickly as you can. And once we get double jump and our dive kick here in just a second, we'll be able to do that a lot quicker and kind of just get back to the ground as fast as we can. But first we have to fight Lost the Gale Feather, which is a really fun boss, definitely one of my favorites. It's probably the most scripted boss in the game, where he always starts with that same attack and then does a couple more. And when he does this charge, you get him to about half HP, and then he will phase. And when he does this phase, he'll have a bunch of projectiles going out, which you can deflect back at him. So you just time these nice little jump attacks there, and you can just melt him before he finishes phasing. It's really satisfying to do. And yeah, so now we have our double jump, and that's also our dive kick / pogo. And from here, the movement gets really fun, in my opinion. It was already fun, and it's just even better. We're going to pick up a few dues just to have some money to buy armor in a little bit. But you can just do these dash attacks and then dive back to the ground as fast as you can, do some more dashes and slides, and you just chain that over and over, and you can just zoom around the whole game. And now we're into the columns, which is like the water area. And in this game, like we mentioned earlier, the water is like that Sea of Souls kind of live stream type thing. So water is very dangerous. You can't touch it at all, really. It basically acts like a trap. because I guess it's just like this sacred thing in the game where you're not supposed to interact with it really. I'm not sure what they drink. But so this is kind of a dangerous trap area. And now we'll be using the tree warp to go back to the resting town and meet up with the blacksmith that we saved after loss and buy some armor. Now would be a good time for donations if we have any.
Absolutely. And Nevik, apologies if I pronounced that wrong, sent in $20 saying, "Let's go, Elena. Super pumped to catch an Afterimage run finally, even if I am technically in class. Sending love from the Hades community, less than 3." We also had $5 come in from Azuark that says, "Kick Oss's butt for me, and Valo too." And I'm sure that will definitely be done. And just a reminder, we do still have the Unlock the Dog ending incentive open for Silent Hill 2 later today. We are about 10%, just under 10% of the way there, so keep getting those donations in. And also, I'd like to challenge you all. We are currently at $19,112 raised for the National Women's Law Center. Can we get to 20,000 before the end of this run? Would go a long way, especially if those donations go towards unlocking the dog ending. So get those donations in.
Yeah, thank you for all those lovely donations. And let's see. So what we did just now was go back to the town to buy armor. That's obviously not the fastest thing to do, but a really nice thing about running this game is that there's a lot of options that you have for customizing basically whatever you're comfortable with running. The game is very difficult on its own. That was probably one of the biggest complaints I think I saw from people casually, is just at how difficult the game can be. So a lot of these bosses from here on out will 1 or 2 shot you if you get hit without armor. So we're just going back to get that armor to make the run more comfy overall. And now we'll be at Oss, which hopefully is an easy run. Oss is kind of everyone's least favorite boss. There's a lot of RNG in her moveset. She has these big attacks that can kind of just take up the whole screen sometimes. If she's not nice, you can kind of just end up having to wait. And if you're not patient, that usually means death. But let's see how we'll do here. So far, she's been not too bad. And you'll see when she's kind of more stationary, we're able to get those crouch attacks off on her and do some big damage.
Wow.
Yeah, she does these homing projectiles that can just follow you around and make you not be able to hit her. And then she'll do those 4 pillars, and sometimes the 4 pillars are in good places where you can keep attacking her, and sometimes they'll send you to the other side. But the RNG wasn't too bad today, so we got through it. Lana did an incredible job there, managing kind of the bullet hell that comes with Oss sometimes. And the reason we have to beat Oss is because she gives us a whistle that's gonna let us traverse the overworld by talking to our little friend. So we're gonna head back to the columns using a resting potion, which is just an item that lets you go back to any tree that you've rested at before. And we're going to be heading the other way now towards the water. But first, we have to kill a crystallized wolf. This is another boss that can be pretty scripted. It usually does the same first 2 attacks, one of them being that kind of projectile swipe, which you can deflect back at it for a lot of damage. And then usually after that, it'll basically be dead, just like that. And yeah, so here's our not-so-little friend, which is a giant manta ray that we're going to use to traverse the overworld to go to a couple of new places. And the manta ray doesn't have a name canonically, but it makes this cute little sound when you talk to it. It goes fweet fweet, and so we like to call it Fwee, which is not to be confused with the Fwee Twile from a certain critically acclaimed MMORPG. But FIFA's a little off topic, so back to another critically acclaimed game that's right in front of us. And it's me, I'm the critic. I'm giving it a lot of acclaim. It's a great game. You should go play it. It's regularly on sale. It's not very much. I think it's around $20. And probably like 50 hours of content for the regular story. 70-ish if you're a completionist. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot to do. We're showing so little of the game on this speed run. I think we'll be fighting 9 bosses, and there's over 40. There's really just a lot to do, and it's a wonderful game. But yeah, so we climbed this tower here to turn on a light. And don't look too closely because that light is actually way up here across a bunch of water. And now we'll be moving into the next area, which is the Holy Grounds. Holy Grounds, when we were first routing it was probably the toughest area, but there's been some improvements in the strats that let us kind of skip most of it. I want to say it was Michael K that started doing this first.
Why?
Yeah, sometimes enemies just won't spawn. I think it's if you're in like the wrong pixel when you rest at a tree, an enemy might not be there. But normally we had to go down and around through a lot of dangerous enemies, and this is where things will start to one-shot you. But it turns out that you can just wait for that trippy plant to produce some flies, and you can pogo up and kind of skip the worst parts of this area. And then we'll pogo off of this one to go up here if it cooperates, and it did. That's great. And now we have our Iron Scythe, which is going to be the best weapon for the rest of the run. Holy Grounds is an endgame area. It's the end of probably the basic story. There's 10 endings, so it does get harder from here, but this is kind of the start of the endgame. So being an endgame area is going to have a lot stronger weapons than anything we can get anywhere else. And we won't be able to complete Holy Grounds while we're here, but we're going to grab a checkpoint to come back later. And the whole reason we come here first is so we can grab that Iron Scythe and just kind of get through the rest of the game a lot quicker.
Being an open world game, I think a lot of players come to this area first after getting Kui, because it's right in front of the lighthouse gate. So I also came here when I first played this game casually and got stuck at the boss that we'll fight later.
Yeah, you can definitely get thrown off in your navigation here. It's not super clear. It kind of leaves a lot to you to go wherever you feel like. And
Oops. I meant to press that. Teleporting?
That's okay. It's just a small time loss. But yeah, one of the quality of life features they added was you'll see these little symbols above the enemy, little angry looking faces, and that just means that an enemy is higher level than you. So when you run into an area where all the enemies have this symbol, you might not be supposed to be there yet, and maybe you could go explore somewhere else, or you can just, if you're like me, you can be stubborn and try to get through it anyway. Something we haven't talked about is how experience kind of works in this game. You can only get so much off of killing enemies, so it's not really beneficial to kill enemies unless they're in your way here. But what is beneficial is picking up these little glowing spots along the way, which I think there's a couple more before we leave here. Those are called echoes, and they're messages. They're like lore messages from around the world, or sometimes they're messages from backers. And that they also come with experience. And so while your experience from killing enemies is capped, your experience from echoes is always going to be the same. So some of them will just give you 2 or 3 levels, and it's much more efficient to level up that way if you're trying to level. And what we're trying to do with picking up those is get to level 20, which we will pretty soon in the next area. And that's going to unlock a scythe skill called Rondo. It's basically just spinny scythe. You twirl it a little bit and it just does a lot of damage. And then you can still cancel that with your jump attacks that we've been doing so far. And now we're into the Whispering Woods, where we'll be going through another fun little platform section here before we get to another boss that's going to have our next movement ability. Now would probably also be a good time for donations if we got any.
Absolutely, thanks so much. Before we get to the donations, I did want to highlight another incentive that's been opened for a bid war for guilt, a run coming up later today to choose the ending as to whether or not we want to save our cousin Emily or save ourselves. So if you have any strong feelings about that, feel free to donate towards one of those two options. Or if you don't care at all and just like dogs, feel free to donate towards the Unlock the Dog ending for Silent Hill 2. Kurt Mack sent in $25 and said, "In garden raised," which I really appreciate. We also had $25 come in from Miramosa, who said, "A friend of mine's child can no longer safely present openly as non-binary at their school. I'm so happy that this event fights for equal rights for people to live as themselves. It's so important right now. Trans rights."
Trans rights.
Trans rights. So we're still getting through the Whispering Woods here. You may have noticed our outfit turned purple for a second and is purple again. That's not anything significant. I think it's just some kind of layers in the game being funny, turning our outfit purple. And we'll be coming up on, I think we picked up the checkpoint here already, so we'll be coming up to the boss soon. Fun thing about this game is that the checkpoints are these trees, and you'll see roots kind of growing all around the area when you're near one, so it's nice to have that kind of visual cue. But this is Failure, probably the least health boss in the game. We have this Iron Scythe that's doing a lot of damage. We're finally have a weapon that's stronger than what we're supposed to be for progress, and he just goes down super quickly. Fun little fight. And now we have our wall climb, which we're going to use to climb up here and hopefully dodge these projectiles. Sometimes they can be very insistent with their tracking. So we're going to come up here and talk to a giant robot baby with a galaxy brain. And they're going to open a portal to our next area, which is the Forest Foregone.
It is very foregone.
Not much forest left. And we're in some kind of abandoned lab. I don't remember exactly what happens, but it's basically a climate change metaphor. There's a lot of that in this game. Haven't really talked too much about the story, but there are definitely some disasters that kind of irreparably warp some places. So that's why we're in a desert and it's called the forest. Because it used to be. But first we're gonna fight this devil here, which, fun fact, this is very story relevant, but we've skipped the entire story so far. Basically, this girl took our master's soul after she died, and she's running away and didn't say anything, so we're just trying to see what's going on and chase her down and get our master's soul back. And instead of explaining what she wants to do, she's like, I'm gonna turn into a devil and fight you. This can actually be a really tricky fight. Elena handled it very well. When she phases, she kind of does this crystal rain that sometimes can just block out your entire path and corner you. And we're in a pretty dangerous area health-wise, so. But a really good job from Elena to avoid all that and make it through pretty cleanly. This is another tricky platforming section with a lot of projectiles coming at you. But we got through it, and we'll be using that wall cling to get on to the beach now. Some of the enemies in this game can have some really silly hitboxes. They'll start late. Sometimes if you're fast enough, you can just zoom right through enemies as they're standing there when normally there's contact damage. These guys, yeah, they can be a little tricky sometimes. Usually when they start their attack, it comes out a little late and then it lasts a little long.
I'm just gonna grab this for safety.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't pick up a lot of these trees, but we're doing marathon safety strats, so just in case, you never know what could happen. the game is still difficult, as easy as Elena's making it look. And a lot of these things can go very wrong very quickly. Especially when bunnies are involved. Bunnies are the most dangerous enemy in this game. Especially when they're in this area. There's these bunnies that shoot a wall of projectiles at you, and nobody has time to stand there and deflect them like you're supposed to. We're just gonna go around, but and hope they're not faster than us. And then there's those little snails, snail crabs, whatever they are, that shoot little bubbles. And they have incredible tracking. They will do 180-degree turns and follow you up a wall, which we just climbed to get an accessory that's just gonna let us do a little bit more damage. And there's also those pufferfish, which will track you really far, and blow more bubbles that'll track you really far. And worst of all, there's these blue bunnies that...
Oh, they're crying.
They shoot really fast ice projectiles, and they also chase you really far. They can fly anywhere. They like to clip through walls. They like to stand exactly where you want to be. It might be cats, actually.
Are they cats?
I think they're cats. Because you know, they're in inconvenient places a lot of the time. A lot of the times, that bunny that we just ran past will follow you into the boss room.
Come on.
These guys usually jump off the cliffs, but he's being a little hard today. Okay, we're safe from the bunnies now. Yeah, a lot of times one of them will follow you into the boss room here. It can't usually actually get in, but sometimes it'll just run into the wall and kind of clip through, and it'll hit you anyway. But speaking of the bosses, this is Runic Guardian, probably the easiest, comfiest boss in the game. He just has 2 attacks as long as you're not trying to run away from him. It's a nice breath of fresh air after the rest of Silent Coast, which is usually the hardest area to get through. He also drops some dual blades, which is the only dual blades we'll use this run. We did unlock a skill for them when we unlocked the spinny scythe attack, and they actually combo pretty together because it's like a jumping attack, so you can spam the scythe attack and spam into the dual blade skill. Good. Okay, and we just completed the actual final boss of the game, which is this boat guy. I think it may have been fixed in a patch recently, but for the longest time, this was the biggest run killer. You'd, for whatever reason, no one could figure it out. You'd get down to this boat, and that guy wouldn't show up to talk to you. And it was kind of run over at that point, because you just have to reload, and that takes like a minute and a half, maybe 2. But seems like it's fixed. He's been showing up pretty consistently lately. Yeah, now we're just gonna head into the Field of Hydro, talk to a giant jellyfish, and gain the ability to breathe underwater. Because that's kind of the natural progression of things. You go from, being damaged by water to just being able to breathe in it. But it's just a bit of running here, so this is also a great time for donations.
Can do. Night Flyer sent in $25 and did not send in a comment, but we appreciate the donation anyway. As did Anonymous, who also sent in $25 with no comment, but again, we really appreciate it. Every single donation that comes in goes towards the National Women's Law Center and also gets us closer to our milestone goal for the day of $30,000 that will also unlock a bonus game, Sonic DX, at the end of the day. So if you want to see more speedrunning and want to see more Frost Fatales, get those donations in. I know we can hit that milestone incentive by the end of the day. We're making great pace so far today.
All right, so we talked to our jellyfish friend, and now we can breathe underwater, which we don't need quite yet, but we do need to fight the second to last boss here in the Holy Grounds, which is usually the place where casual players will get stuck. It's right there, and this is a very, very difficult fight. We mentioned that when we first routed this game, I think our runs took us like around 5 hours, and like 3 hours of that was just trying to figure out how to beat this boss while you're underpowered with only 2 jumps and no iframes on your dash and contact damage. So it's a very difficult fight. This is a big roadblock for a lot of casual players, and it's one of the biggest things to learn for the speed run. Especially if you're running the armorless route, she'll just one-shot you with every one of her attacks. But the way she works is she kind of has these normal attacks, where she'll do like a couple swipes or a dash or something, and then she'll start to glow like that, and she'll do like an upgraded version of her attacks. And usually they'll have like these pillars of light or projectiles, or she'll just do them twice. And she moves a lot, so she can very easily pin you into a corner. So you really have to be aware of where you're standing for all of these attacks and where you can go and when you can cross up her attacks and when she'll just kind of track you. But really good job from Elena here, taking down the first phase, and she has a second phase where all of her attacks will be upgraded versions. And as you can see, she's taking a lot less damage here, but her health goes down on its own. So it's kind of like a survival mode second phase. But of course, we're speedrunners. We want to go fast. So we're going to play aggressive anyway and take out as much little bits of damage as we can. Yeah, and that's the kind of the cornering she can do on you. But we had just enough room to stay safe there. And we're about halfway through, doing an excellent job so far. Yeah, she has really good tracking. Sometimes she'll, like on that attack right there, it'll go up until like the frame before she does the attack. And I think normally you're kind of expected to have at least a triple jump or iframes on your dash by the time you get here. So that will usually makes things a lot easier. But we didn't have any of that, and we did an excellent job. Made it through Valo, taking... Did we get hit at all?
No, I got hit going up the Valo.
Yeah, we didn't even get hit in that fight at all. An incredible job from Elena there. At one point in time, I think in the first version of the game, you used to be able to kind of cheese Valo's second phase if you had a damage over time effect on her as she was phasing. You could skip the phase entirely, and right before Boat Guy, there's a Poison Scythe that has a tick damage on it, so we used to grab that and just use it to basically get like a free minute off of Valo from that second phase. But unfortunately for us, that was fixed, and we have to learn the fight normally. And we're moving into the last section here before the final boss, so we do have some time for a couple more donations.
Absolutely. The Bid War for Guilt to choose the ending has had a $15 anonymous donation with no comment that just went towards saving ourselves. So, if you want to overtake that and save our cousin Emily, or double down on saving ourselves, get those donations into that Bid War for Guilt. Because right now it looks like we are taking the selfish route. So, if you have any feelings on that, get those donations in. We also have $25 from Addie Joe that says, the work that the National Women's Law Center does is so important, especially now. Also, there are so many cute prizes this event. Here's hoping for the adorable Pokemon Valentine's Charms or the Analog Pocket. And yeah, as a reminder, all of your donations go towards entering you into the chance to win tons of incredible, cute, fun, beautiful prizes donated to us by the Fatalis community and friends. So get those donations in if you're interested in any of those prizes that you can check out online on the Games Done Quick website.
Oh, I have no idea how I got through there.
Yeah, so we're going through this underwater section here with a lot of these electric blocks that can really test your patience sometimes. Elena got pretty aggressive there, but she wasn't punished for it. I don't think I've ever seen that, being able to go through the blocks while they're on. Normally you have to really try to squeeze through there, but we did it. And we also picked up our last piece of armor for the run, which is that robe, and it's gonna make the last fight just a little bit comfier. I think it gets us into 2 or 3 shot territory, and it also adds a little more damage, so it's just a nice to have.
Oh, it's okay.
Water can be a little tricky sometimes. Normally you kind of float and you have to mash jump to kind of fly up, but sometimes you'll accidentally wall cling and you'll get like a big boost. Sometimes you'll accidentally wall cling on the way down and not go down. It can be a bit tricky. But I think we've made it through here without getting hit so far. And and there we go, commentator curse. Some of these you can kind of just run through them if you have perfect timing, but normally you're gonna have to wait for them to agree with you. But we're through it, and now we're heading down this last elevator towards our last checkpoint and towards our final boss. In this game, there's an ending for doing nothing. Nothing story related, and so that's obviously the fastest, and that's what we're going for today. For a while, we thought that you had to do some story because, of course, you would think you would have to do some story to beat the game. But no, it turns out it's just slower and you can skip everything. And so now we're at the final boss. Time will be as soon as the boss is defeated. And this is Guider. She's also the first boss we fought, but now she has a name and she has a cool glowy second phase as soon as she phases here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so she does the same things as when we first fought her, but now they're also upgraded and very cool looking. And this is where the rest of our 5 hours routing the game was spent. This is a pretty tough fight as well. Obviously does a lot of damage. It's the final boss, and she has some tricky patterns. Sometimes she has sometimes she just likes to walk at you and let you get some free damage, and she has very big hurt boxes sometimes that don't look like they should hit you, but they do. She does a lot of this portal stuff. Fun fact, if you're under level, you can see where she's going to come out of the portal, but back in the day, you weren't able to see that. And we're almost done here, just a little bit more to go.
I'm just going to be on one AB Guider.
Yeah, on the final hit here in just a second. And these pillars can also corner you pretty easily. They're delayed, and there's 3 of them. And there we go.
Nice, subway one.
The moment has yet.
Very good run. Incredible run, Elena. Great job.
Oh, wait, that's not subway one. I was looking with the delay. But yes, very good. So this is the, like Lapras mentioned, this is the ending for doing nothing. It's the bad ending. But there are 10 endings in this game, I believe.
Yeah, 10 endings. Only one of them's an Easter egg ending. There's 3 basic endings, 3 for your companion, which we didn't even talk about, and 3 for basically like a totally different character that you get in New Game Plus.
Oh, yep, that was Afterimage. Highly recommend this game, both casually and as a speed game. Just a great Metroidvania that I think a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, really, really underrated title that came out last year. And it's a big game. There's a lot to it. There's so much to do, and it's all just really fun to play, both casually, and then the speedrun is very satisfying because the action is just really nice and snappy. But yeah, we're on speedrun.com. If you're interested in Afterimage, you can find our Discord there. You can also get in contact with either of us or in the Fatals server. And yeah, hopefully we'll see more people running Afterimage soon.
Yep. Thank you, Lapras, for commentating and for running this game with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all from us for today. We'll see you later in the week for some Hades.
Oh yeah, we're doing Hades on Thursday.